The National Weather Service issuing a heat advisory for the entire day tomorrow. The heat index values can feel up to 100. Toyota World camera, you can see some puffy cumulus clouds overhead, plenty of sunshine, and that air temperature, it is toasty. Right now, 89 on the island, 91 here in Houston, close to 100 degrees. You'll notice our heat index values not as different than the air temperature because we're not quite as humid, but because of that, we are going to see our temperatures really soar. In fact, as we head into the afternoon, forecast temperatures 98 at 3, back 106. So your playground forecast, really try to find yourself a splash pad, shade. It is going to be dangerously hot, not just today, but over the next few days. Heat alert now issued for Tuesday for most of southeast Texas. And if we feel up to 110, I would expect a heat warning for the rest of the week. But Brittany, Andy, I've got much more in our full forecast coming up.
Caroline, that should not really come as a surprise to us.
No, it doesn't come as a surprise, but I think every year it arrives kind of as a bummer because it's so intense, and this year is no difference. We've got it, and this is where it's going to stay as we head through the rest of the week. We're not expecting any rainfall. Instead, it's all about those high temperatures. Right now, actual air temperature 91 here in Houston, 90 for our friends up in Conroe. Factor in the humidity, and it feels anywhere from the upper 90s to the lower triple digits. Right now, Cleveland feels like 102, 100 for our friends out in Fort Bend County. And this is really just the beginning. Today expected to be the coolest day this week, with actual air temperature only reaching the upper 90s, 98 degrees, feeling up to 106. And when we're talking about a big high pressure system, multiple days of intense heat, I think where you really notice the big difference is it's going to be the overnights. We're not going to cool down efficiently, but 8 o'clock, 92 still feels like 100. And through the next several days, every morning, waking up around 80 degrees. Heat alert now has been issued for Tuesday. Values on Tuesday exceeding 110. You can pretty much guarantee that we're going to see some sort of heat advisory or even extreme heat warning for Wednesday. This is that heat advisory now in place for Tuesday. It starts at noon, goes until 7 o'clock, and we're going to keep seeing these. That's because we've got a heat dome in place, meaning a high pressure system out to the west. This creates sinking air, and when you compress air like that, think of it like a bike tire. That's going to heat it up, but it's also going to prevent us from seeing the rising air that we would expect to see with cloud cover and rainfall. So high temperatures over the next 5 days, every single day, 100 degrees or warmer. As we head through the week, we're going to continue to get even hotter. By Thursday and Friday, heat index values of 110. As mentioned, we are very concerned about this high heat. It's the hottest we've been all year, so please be careful. Symptoms of heat exhaustion, fatigue, headache, dizziness, listen to your body. Take breaks in the shade. This kind of heat is not typical for Houston, at least not every day. Mid-90s. Thick factor in the humidity, feels like 100 degrees. Heat alerts issued for this week. I've got the full forecast coming up. Here we expect it to be hot. This is easily going to be the hottest week we've had so far. A live look from our Loyalty Plumbing camera. You can see a mix of sunshine and cloud cover. Actual air temperature for everybody sitting in the lower to mid 90s, 90 on the island, 94 here in Houston. Factor in that humidity. Everybody feeling between 102 and 106. 106 is what it feels like in Livingston, 102 in Angleton, Washington County, also 102 degrees. As we head through the rest of the afternoon, you're going to notice temperatures struggling to cool down into the evening. This is really the big change, how I feel when it comes between a hot stretch of days and a dangerously hot stretch. Not only is it very hot in the afternoon, but as we head through the overnight period, we won't cool down much. In fact, at 11 p.m., 84 feels like 92. And then into the day tomorrow, the National Weather Service already issuing a heat advisory that starts at noon, goes until 7 p.m. Heat index values up to 110. And believe it or not, that heat continuing to build through the week. Heat warnings are going to be likely, but Andy, I've got much more in my full forecast coming up.
for us here in Southeast Texas.
And for us here in Southeast Texas, we always expect to be hot this time of year. We always just wonder, are we going to hit 100? How many times? And especially when you factor in the humidity, actual air temperature sitting in the mid to upper 90s. Crockett 97, 94 here in Houston. Factor in that humidity, and this really paints the real picture. We need to talk about heat index because this shows you what it feels like when you factor in the stress on your body. Right now, feels like 102 in Liberty, 103 for our friends in Cleveland. Pool party forecast. It is the summertime after all. Temperature 4 degrees, feeling like 104. And as we head through the overnight hours, really not much cooling at all. Starting off our Tuesday, mid to upper 70s, 78 here in Houston, 75 out in Livingston. When we struggle to cool down overnight, you know it's going to be a hot afternoon. And that's why the National Weather Service issuing a heat advisory from noon through 7 p.m. tomorrow. Actual air temperature around 100, but factor in the humidity and it's going to feel up to 110. What I want you to remember is it really doesn't matter one way or another. It's going to be dangerously hot both days, and we urge you to take precautions. The reason why it's so hot is this high pressure system that creates a heat dome with sinking air. When you compress air, when you sink it, that has us heat up. Think about it kind of like a bike tire. Not only does it heat us up, but it prevents the rising motion that we need for rainfall. So no rain expected this week. Daytime highs between 100 to 101, feels up to 110. A quick look here today. Not quite as hot as what we're expecting to see, but I'll tell you what, it is not pleasant. A live look outside from our GenPro.com camera. We've got some puffy cumulus clouds and plenty of sunshine out there. Actual air temperature 96 here in Houston, 95 for our friends in Katy, but factor in that humidity. Everybody feeling like the triple digits right now. Feels like 102 degrees here in Houston. Pool party forecast for this afternoon showing temperatures dropping through the 90s at 8 o'clock, still 92. Feels like 102. And because we're going to keep seeing this heat climb, a heat advisory has been issued starting at noon tomorrow, lasting until 7 o'clock. Lisa, Joel, I think heat warnings possible later in the week. I'll let you know why coming up.
Okay, Caroline, thank you. With the heat dome pushing temperatures
to 100 degrees, we're also talking about drought, burn bans, water restrictions.
Sure.
This year, that's just not a problem.
So we've totally gotten rid of our drought.
No drought for Southeast Texas. So we're in a pretty good position, but that doesn't mean it's not still dangerous heat. Let's talk about it. 9 degrees, factor in that humidity, feeling like 100. Winds are steadily coming in from the coast. Right now at 14 miles per hour across the board. Everybody sitting in the mid 90s. Crockett 97, 96 here in Houston, 95 out in Katy. Factor in that humidity. Everybody feeling more like the triple digits. Feels like 104 in Sugarland. Look at our friends out in Washington County. Brenham feels like 108. This is dangerous heat, but it is below the heat advisory criteria. As we head through the rest of the afternoon and evening, you're going to see temperatures extremely slow to cool down. At 8 o'clock, 92. Feels like 100. Even at 10 o'clock, 88 feels like 96. A big part of heat waves is that not only is it very hot in the afternoon, but through the overnight period, not a lot of relief at all. In fact, temperatures tonight only dropping into the upper 70s and lower 80s. So a warm start to what's going to be a dangerously hot Tuesday. We've got that heat advisory from noon through 7 o'clock with actual air temperature reaching 100 in the afternoon. Factor in the humidity and it can feel up to 110. Because I do expect to see heat alerts both days, and it's all because of this high pressure system, a heat dome, if you will. We call it that because it is a dome and it creates sinking air, and that sinking air, that compression heats us up. Not only does it heat us up, but with the sinking air, you're not seeing the rising that you need for thunderstorm development, and thus no rain. Take those clouds overhead. Not expecting any rainfall today. In fact, not expecting it all week. Take a look. Actual air temperatures warm, sitting in 98 degrees. Factor in that humidity. Everybody feeling 100 degrees or higher. Right now, Liberty feels like 106, Conroe 102. So please be careful if you are heading out this evening. If you're doing a car wash, later is going to be better, but I'll tell you what, that hose would feel fantastic. At 9 o'clock, still going to be sitting in the 90s. Feeling close to 100 degrees this time of year. Really don't cool down efficiently, but I'll tell you what, car wash forecast, no problems. Rain chances, we're not going to put in any rain Saturday, but Lisa, Joel, much more in our full forecast coming up.
Hot, hot, hot. Thank you, Caroline and Walt.
El Campo, it is a hot day out there. Not only is it hot, but it is extremely humid as well. I mean, it's Houston in late July. Currently, temperatures feeling like 102 here in Houston. This is the heat index value. We talk about it often this time of year. It's temperatures and humidity. It's the measure of how the heat impacts your body. So it really does feel closer to 104 in Livingston because of that high humidity. And as we head through the night, temperatures really struggling to cool down at 10 o'clock, 88. Feels like 96. Really not a lot of relief as we head through the overnight hours. As we head into the afternoon, that's when heat advisories take into place. That's why even though our mornings are still muggy, buggy, humid, warm, that's the time to get outside. Starting at noon through 7 o'clock tomorrow, that's when our heat is considered extra dangerous. A heat advisory in place for Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday, we expect more heat alerts. Thursday, we'll likely see more heat alerts through the week. We're going to see temperatures at about 101 degrees. We typically see 3 100-degree days in any given year. Last year, we saw 8. This year, we're expecting more than 3. And not just this week. Through the rest of the year, you'll notice a heat dome in place just to our west. This is what's creating the high heat, not just for us, but for most of the United States. And this is why we're expecting triple-digit days, even as we head into the upcoming weekend. This is actual air temperature. Factor in the humidity. This is what matters. By Thursday and Friday, feels like 110. And if that's the case, the Weather Service will issue an excessive